As doctors, we get plenty of clinical CPD teaching, but almost no financial education at all. This leads doctors to make financial mistakes that, as we're going to demonstrate in this video, are costing doctors millions. But it doesn't have to be like this. With the right financial education and the right plan, doctors can achieve the financial success that you deserve, not by working harder, but by understanding your finances and making better financial decisions. That's exactly why we started MedicsMoney.
Hi, I'm Dr. Ed Cantelo, a doctor and a chartered accountant and also a chartered tax advisor.
And I'm Dr. Tommy Perkins, a GP, and together we started MedicsMoney. We left medical school with massive debts, and coming from humble backgrounds, we both struggled with our finances. We spent hours, and in Ed's case, thousands of pounds, becoming experts at managing our own money, optimizing our tax, learning how to invest to grow our money, and securing our financial future without working harder as doctors. Sorting our own finances gave us the financial freedom to choose to work fewer hours as doctors. So, in 2016, we started MedicsMoney to help our doctor colleagues sort their finances out as well.
But we know how difficult it is to find time to manage your finances, and we wanted to show you the impact of a lifetime of good financial habits and education. And to do that, we're going to talk to you about the finances of Dr. Wealthy and Dr. Trapped. Although they are hypothetical, crucially, they are based on real numbers that we have modelled.
Dr. Wealthy and Dr. Trapped's lives are identical in every way, except their approach to managing their finances. And as we're going to see, this has a massive impact on their finances, but also a massive impact on their lives. Dr. Wealthy and Dr. Trapped went to the same medical school and both graduated with the same amount of student debt and entered the same speciality. They even had the same number of children and married once at the same time. For the first 15 years of their careers, they also earn the exact same salary. After that, Dr. Trapped works more hours as a doctor than Dr. Wealthy. But Dr. Wealthy's net worth, that is her wealth, continues to exceed that of Dr. Trapped. In fact, by age 60, Dr. Wealthy's net worth is over £2 million. Unfortunately, Dr. Trapped has only a fraction of this. But why? How can these identical doctors be so different? How can Dr. Wealthy work and earn less than Dr. Trapped, but be significantly wealthier than Dr. Trapped? In this video, we'll give you a summary of how Dr. Wealthy achieved this financial success. We want you to understand exactly how and why Dr. Wealthy has done this and how you can achieve this for yourself. And in the show notes down below, we'll give you the links to some resources at MedicsMoney to help you get started. Starting from the foundation years, Dr. Wealthy and Dr. Trapped graduated medical school in a high cost of living area. Dr. Wealthy immediately moved to a low cost of living area where she grew up. Dr. Wealthy continued to drive the same used car from medical school, joined a municipal tennis club utilizing a 15% discount for NHS workers. In the foundation years, Dr. Wealthy saves, whereas Dr. Trapp spends. On her first day in the job, Dr. Wealthy registered for a free HMRC personal tax account to proactively manage her tax bill. She also claimed tax rebates worth thousands of pounds and made sure her tax code was correct. The money Dr. Wealthy saved in these tax rebates was used to pay off her bad debts from medical school, such as credit cards. Dr. Wealthy buys assets that make money. Dr. Trapped buys liabilities that cost her money. Once Dr. Wealthy's bad debt was repaid, she used the money she had saved to invest in a tax-efficient stocks and shares ISA, holding a low-cost, well-diversified portfolio. Dr. Wealthy understood that over the long term, the value of cash savings in the bank was declining in real terms, adjusted for inflation, and investing in shares is a tried and tested way to outperform inflation. Dr. Wealthy also started a lifetime ISA, and each year she receives £1,000 of free money from the government as a result. Investing early in her career helped Dr. Wealthy take advantage of compound interest, which Einstein reportedly said was the eighth wonder of the world.
Dr. Trapp, on the other hand, her first job as a doctor was in the same high cost of living area that she went to medical school in. As a result, her cost of living was double Dr. Wealthy's cost of living. Dr. Trapped rented a high-end apartment in the expensive part of town and then used her new doctor's income to buy a brand new car on finance. She joined the local private racket club to network with her consultant colleagues, and she didn't think it was worth claiming a few £100s of tax rebates. which is a very common thing. A lot of people don't do that because they don't think it's worth it. And Dr. Trapp was one of those people. She also never ever saw her payslip and never looked at it and never checked her tax code. To pay for her expensive leased car, she opted out of the NHS pension scheme for 10 years, planning instead to invest the money that she saved in property, as she'd heard that property was a better option than the NHS pension. Now, she did save money, but as we shall see, in retirement, she has a substantially lower income. Dr. Trapp also bought her favourite coffee every day, even though she rarely finished it. I'm also guilty of that, I should say, from the outset. But this coffee was more expensive than you might think. In fact, over her career, it's likely that this coffee actually cost her £174,790, which seems a lot just for one hot drink every day, but it actually does and can happen.
Fast forward to the Registrar years. During this time, Dr. Wealthy gets tax smart, whereas Dr. Trapp has other priorities. 5 years later, both doctors attain membership at the Royal College of Physicians and enter CT3 gastroenterology training. Dr. Wealthy recoups 40% of the costs of the MRCP exams by claiming a tax rebate. Dr. Wealthy goes on to invest these tax savings throughout her career into the low-cost stocks and shares tax-efficient ISA. By retirement, these tax savings alone compounds to over £71,000 of investment income.
Dr. Trapp, sadly, in her own words, isn't good with money, puts that tax reclaim on her to-do list, and as a result, she misses the crucial deadlines, doesn't get the tax back, in particular on those really expensive exams, and as a result, pays thousands of pounds more in tax than Dr. Wealthy.
During the Registrar years, Dr. Wealthy continues to build wealth. Unfortunately, Dr. Trapp has a habit of driving expensive cars. Dr. Wealthy now owns a 2-bedroom terraced house. By using the NHS relocation policy, Dr. Wealthy was able to get the NHS to pay £10,000 of her stamp duty. The out-of-town, low-cost-of-living area she moved to as an F1 has become popular with commuters, and as a result, property prices have soared. Dr. Wealthy has a budget. She spends her hard-earned money consciously, and she minimises unconscious wasteful spending. She uses the technique of pay yourself first to save 10% of her post-tax income. Dr. Wealthy used the money she'd saved to buy a rundown flat at below market value and renovated it for low cost, selling it 5 years later for a profit. She still drives the same used car and plays tennis at the same municipal racket club. Recognizing the need to protect her family and her income, she takes out income protection policy and life cover. To do this, she consulted a specialist medical independent financial advisor to get cover which tied into her existing NHS benefits, including the death in service benefits, and to get the best deal for her circumstances. If you don't know the difference between independent and restricted financial advisors and why those advisors that your medical school may recommend might not be the best option, it's really important to understand that independent versus restricted advisor distinction. Dr. Wealthy still pays any spare income into a low-cost investment portfolio in a tax-efficient ISA wrapper. As a result, she pays absolutely no tax on her significant investment income.
Yeah, let's think about Dr. Trapp in the same period. Well, she's still driving a new car. She gets a new car every 3 years on finance. This time, she got a great deal using salary sacrifice to buy the car. Now, unfortunately, this salary sacrifice arrangement actually contributes to her receiving a pensions tax bill. She's still renting the same high-end one-bedroom flat, having not managed to save a deposit, and she's still pretty sure her racket club was a good investment, and she has managed to get a job at a prestigious hospital. Thanks to the standard NHS pay scales, she is earning the exact same salary as Dr. Wealthy. But unfortunately, Dr. Trapp's prestigious hospital is on the other side of town, and she has to buy an expensive travel card to get there. Dr. Trapp didn't think she needed any income protection or life insurance as she is young and healthy. She did go to a presentation on investing for doctors, and as they gave her a free pen, she signed up immediately. But she's got no idea really what investment fees she's paying or why. Unfortunately, Dr. Trapp has fallen victim to a restricted financial advisor who is charging her rather large extortionate fees for an actively managed investment portfolio. So this free pen, as much as we love free pens in NHS, will actually end up costing Dr. Trapp thousands of pounds by paying very high fees for what are basically some very poorly performing assets.
Fast forward to the early consultant years, 10 years later from leaving medical school. Both doctors are ST7s about to complete their certificates of training and become consultant gastroenterologists. Both have a young family. Dr. Wealthy is able to utilize tax-free childcare and legitimately claims child tax benefits. Dr. Wealthy claims a tax rebate on her CCT fee and saves hundreds of pounds on this expensive fee that we have to pay to the GMC.
Unfortunately, due to circumstances, Dr. Trapp's parents are not close by and she's forced to use expensive childcare. She didn't realise that doctors would be eligible for child benefit, so she doesn't bother claiming for that. She's currently now renting a 2-bedroom house close to where she worked.
25 years since leaving medical school, and both doctors have a family and a thriving private practice. Dr. Wealthy consulted a specialist medical accountant who, after carefully taking into account Dr. Wealthy's tax situation, set up a limited company to minimize her tax bill. She retains almost all profits in the company, and after consulting a financial advisor, has set up several tax-efficient investments within the limited company. The company also invests into a pension for Dr. Wealthy's partner. In this scenario, working via a limited company can be very tax efficient and also reduces Dr. Wealthy's chance of receiving a punitive annual allowance pensions tax charge.
Dr. Wealthy met Dr. Trapp at a medical conference and told her how tax efficient a limited company was. So, without taking any advice, Dr. Trapp actually set up herself as a limited company using an online service that charges just £50 to set up a limited company. But unfortunately, Dr. Trapp pays out all the profit from the company as dividends to herself, and several years later actually receives a £50,000 pensions tax bill for breaching the annual allowance. Unfortunately, without taking advice, it's likely that her bargain limited company actually hasn't saved her any tax at all either.
30 years since leaving medical school, both doctors are now middle-aged, and unfortunately, disaster strikes. Both Dr. Wealthy and Dr. Trapp unfortunately become ill and have to take 2 years off work. After using the 6 months NHS sick pay that she's entitled to, Dr. Wealthy uses her income protection policy she bought as an F1 to pay her bills.
Dr. Trapp unfortunately has no such protection, and after 6 months NHS sick pay, she has to support herself for the other 18 months.
Thankfully, due to amazing treatment provided by their NHS colleagues, both doctors recover. But their illness changes their perspective on life, and Dr. Wealthy wants to retire to spend more time with her grandchildren. Age 58, and in the 2015 NHS pension scheme, she could retire and take her pension, but with actuarial reductions of approximately 60%. Instead, with the help of a financial advisor, she calculates that she can live off her investment portfolio income for 5 years and then, age 63, take her NHS pension, allowing her to retire significantly earlier. By generating multiple different income streams throughout her career, Dr. Wealthy has attained financial independence and is no longer reliant on her income from working as a doctor.
Dr. Trapp, however, is not so fortunate, and having originally opted out of the NHS pension as an F1 and only rejoining 10 years later, she does not have enough additional income streams to fund her high-spending lifestyle into retirement, and unfortunately has no investment income. Dr. Trapp eventually retires, also age 63, 5 years later than Dr. Wealthy was able to retire, but Dr. Trapp also has a lower pension. She also doesn't have the non-pension wealth that Dr. Wealthy has retained.
60 years after leaving medical school, both doctors unfortunately die peacefully in their sleep. Dr. Wealthy has a will and has set up a trust for her children, which ensures a smooth transition for her executors and minimises her inheritance tax liability.
Dr. Trapp has no will and never really thought about inheritance tax. As a result, her executors struggle and her estate is significantly reduced by an inheritance tax liability.
So, don't panic, but do act. It's likely that you can recognize some of your own financial habits from both Dr. Wealthy and Dr. Trapp. But don't panic. No one, not even us at MedicsMoney, is as financially perfect as Dr. Wealthy. But we hope this case study has motivated you to start your own financial journey to making better financial decisions. And at MedicsMoney, we have absolutely everything that you need to do this. In the show notes below, I've got various links to resources that will help you to just get started improving your finances. Thanks for watching. If you like these videos, don't forget to hit the like button and the subscribe button if you want to see more.